What's up, Facebook world and social media? What's up? It's Bruce. Today I'm going to be talking to you about several different things. One, I'm going to start posting an hour, well, not one full hour, but an hour's worth of content a week on several topics. One, how to start a business. Two, AV. Three, personal development. And four, having a positive attitude. Five, how to keep on pursuing your goals and dreams and aspirations. I feel extremely blessed this year, this past year. I know it was COVID. We had our best year ever. And it was crazy because I didn't feel bad about it. In fact, I felt blessed and honored to be having such a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful year. And I only can say I thank God. And I thank God for the opportunities. I thank my team. I thank my clients. I thank the opportunities that have been created for me. And I can only say, but I also thank myself because I've been doing this now 11 years. And again, been blessed with a lot of opportunities, but I also, I got to give kudos to myself because I'm the one that put in a lot of hard work and effort. And for all those individuals out there that are looking to start a business and venture on yourself, it takes a lot of work. It takes dedication. It takes perseverance. It is not something that is easy, right? So you look at all these great commercials and people that you see online and TikTok, and they're like, "Oh, I'm making millions of dollars." And I'm not saying that you can't. I'm not saying that people don't make lots of money and in a very short period of time. But it's not just the norm. I mean, you got to put in some work and effort. So I'm going to be posting what I think has been cool life experiences for me. So tonight I'm working on my first adventure in doing this, even though I post a lot of videos. A lot of them are on my project sites. But I'm going to share a little story about how I got started and what it's meant to me along the lifetime, along my life, and to others. So if you want to listen in, great. If not, that's cool. But here's my story. My story is I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Ever since I was a kid, my father was an entrepreneur, and in college, I remember being in college and looking for entrepreneurial type of classes, and I went to the University of Texas in Austin, and at that time they didn't offer those kind of classes. In fact, they were very much in the business school, man, are you accounting or finance? And if you're not accounting or finance, then why are you here? And eventually I got out of the business school, and I chose to do a lot of different things, and I most of which I was not cut out for. One of those was kinesiology, which I had to study biology for. And for all those doctors out there, God bless you, because that is not what I do. I am not a biology guy. And Krebs cycle killed me. But I ended up going into psychology, and then I thought I'd be in industrial psychology. Long story short, I followed what so many people told me to do, which is go get a job. Go get a job. And I did. And worked in sales and outside sales, and found myself in a great career at what's now AT&T, used to be Southwestern Bell Telephone, used to be Southwestern Bell Wireless, then Singular Wireless. Then we kept on getting bought out, and then I ended up on the AT&T side of things. And man, I went through a lot of great experiences. I used to work in a very cool group, and that group was in an area called industry markets. I still have some folks that work for AT&T that we worked together, and man, I met some amazing people, and it was a very, very cool time in our lives, and I appreciate it because it made me a stronger person. It made me a wiser person, and I grew a lot. We largely what we had to do was be a liaison and help start up telecom companies across the country. And after a while, it started with 13 states, and then due to mergers and acquisitions, it developed into 22 states. And over 22 states, man, it was an interesting time. A lot of late nights, a lot of teamwork. I had a lot of very intense clients. Largely what we would do is, well, as a corporate liaison, as account manager, we would help facilitate all the different departments within our organization and work with other telecom companies called CLECs, Competitive Local Exchange Carriers. And during the time, it was a federal law and a state law that we, as an ILEC and or as pretty much as an ILEC, we had to ensure the success of every one of our clients to become local telephone providers in order for us to ever sell long distance provider. Largely that was due to deregulation. And during that time, like I said, learned a lot. And while I was doing all that, I had my little businesses on the side. My big goal was create a company, do something so I never have to work for the man again. And most of those failed and didn't fail miserably. They weren't that successful, but I learned a lot. I mean, I got out and I tried and tried to do all sorts of stuff. I mean, I even had a gumball machine business for a long time. And, the goal was always to see how I could make money and circumvent, basically replace my income, my salary, or come close to it so I could quit and then do something bigger and better. Lo and behold, as many opportunities as I tried, I learned that, unless I was fully focused on it, this was just me, fully focused on it, it wasn't going to be something I was going to be very successful at. And so learning lesson for myself. I even tried doing multi-level marketing and all sorts of different businesses, right? So after 11 years of AT&T and my service there, I've polished off my career as a negotiator for almost 4 years. Again, working with presidents and CEOs and some amazing folks internally and externally. I saw the opportunity to leave. It was time. And I took a buy-a package and I left. And during my stint in time, I was looking for opportunities and all over. I knew I was never going to work for somebody. That was the point. I knew it was time. I knew I was going to go start my own company. And the biggest thing that I was looking at starting at the time was I was going to start a consulting company and negotiate with my clients against what's now AT&T. I didn't have a non-compete, and it just made a lot of sense because all of my contacts, business contacts, were law firms, attorneys, and presidents and CEOs across the country. And so that seemed like a great idea until I was in Brazil on one of my many vacations, and I was sitting one morning looking out at the ocean, and I looked at my life, and I realized I never ever wanted to talk about telecom ever again, other than over a cocktail or a beer or some type of situation, right? And so I got back after many months of traveling, not only the world but the United States, and obviously it's in the world, but I don't know. I just had a great attitude of I knew I was going to be doing something. And it was in 2009, and I spoke with several individuals, and people were like, "Man, what are you going to do? It's 2009, and one of the worst economies, and people have been struggling now due to the collapse into the housing market." And I knew again I was never going to work for somebody ever again if I had something to say about it. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew I was going to do it. And so, um, you know, part of what I did was believing the other part of it was God saying, I'm going to give you a couple gifts and show you the way. You just got to be open to the opportunities. So I got back to Dallas during my traveling stints, and a friend of mine who's in real estate called me up. His name is Jared Reed, and I used to tinker around AV stuff for friends and love talking about it and setting up simple stereo systems and TVs and he called me up and he's like, hey man, I sold this property and you're the only person that knows anything about AV, and can you help him out? I was like, yeah, sure, I guess. I mean, I'm really not doing anything at all. I'm planning my next trip, actually. I think I'm going to California again. So I went, and it was basically like I looked at the system, and they just wanted to put like a stereo system on the fourth floor, and they had one of those rooftop decks that was overlooking downtown, and so I said, okay, cool, and I went online and did some research, and I remodeled my condo with some help with some friends, and so I enjoyed working with my hands. And I just figured, hey, why not? I can paint and I can cut some holes and drill some stuff and, install a system and go from there. So I did. And then about a week later, another friend of mine called and kind of threw out the same deal. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And sure, I guess I'm not doing anything. And then the oddest thing happened, which is I was planning my little trip to go to California. And I have a good friend of mine. His name's David Bazan. He lives in Vegas. And Dave, who we're still good friends of mine today, I called him up, and I used to love stopping in Vegas because it's Vegas. I mean, come on. I mean, stop in for a couple of days, party, hang out, and I'd go do that. And then I'd either rent a car or I'd just take a puddle jumper to LA and go meet some folks. So this particular time I called him up and I said, hey Dave, what's going on? And I'm like, catching up. I hadn't seen him in a while. I hadn't talked to him in a while. And I'm like, hey, I just figured I'd stop in and say hi. I'm going out to LA. Can you hook me up with a little hotel? Because he was in the hotel industry. And then all of a sudden he tells me, he's like, hey, I'm not in the hotel industry anymore. What are you talking about? I'm not in the hotel industry anymore. He's like, yeah, I'm not in the hotel industry anymore. I was like, no way, that's freaking weird. What are you doing? He's like, I started an AV company. I was like, no shit. That's a thing? AV company's a thing. And he's like, absolutely. I was like, well, this is the weirdest thing ever. So I basically changed my plans and talked to Dave Bazan and went out and I said, well, why don't you show me what you're doing? So I spent about a week or so out there, and he showed me what he was doing. And I was like, oh my God. And he kind of showed me a little game plan, and along things went. And I said, I can do that. I don't have to go do all the things that people say that you have to do. And so lo and behold, I just came back and I said, screw it. I'm starting an AV company. And then while I'm along with it, because I remodeled my one house, I figured I was going to start a remodeling company. And at the time, my roommate, who was also unemployed, had a knack for construction. And so I came home and said, you know what, might as well do it. I started a company called BAS Home Theater and Renovation Systems. And we were going to be remodeling stuff, and we were going to be doing some AV, and it was going to be awesome, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But I was going to do it anyway. And so I did. And we got I called some friends of mine, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you modeled my house, and here." And we kind of started randomly picking up some projects just based off of my community of friends, and away we went. And I knew that I also had to start doing some networking, and my background was in sales, and so I was like, I got to get out and about, and all the people I know are in telecom, and so I got to start mingling and seeing the world out there. So I kind of forgot how this came about, but I had several friends of mine, one of them Holly Pritchard. I think she had started her own business at the same time in insurance, and kind of started popping into some networking stuff, and we started going to networking events. And through my first networking event, I ended up meeting a ton of people, and within that scope, I just started doing all of it. I started knocking on doors. I'd wear 3 outfits a day. Sometimes I'd be in a suit just to go to a networking event. Then I'd change clothes to put on jeans to go to a house. And then sometimes we'd be working on a project, so I'd have to go in and start freaking take out the drills and hammer stuff. I mean, it was crazy. I didn't know what I was doing, but then I was doing it. And the funny thing is it took me no time to start a business. So here's how you start a business. If you really want to start a business. I know this is going to be shocking. It's going to be crazy, but listen in. You just do it. You just do it. That's it. There's no magic formula to starting a business. You don't have to have a business plan. You don't have to have a business model. You don't have to go out and hire attorneys and consultants and just spend countless of thousands of dollars thinking about the business. Now, I'm not saying you can't, and it really depends on the business that you want to start, but you don't have to go crazy. People get stuck right there. They have an idea, they go, I want to start a business, and then they go, oh, well, I talked to a friend of mine who, by the way, doesn't own a business, and another friend of mine, and they heard that you got to do this and you do this. Okay, here it is. If you really want to start a business, simple aspect of it. You can go get a DBA, which is doing business as, file it within your city. Costs you like $25 to $30. Back then, you usually just go to your court downtown, to your tax office, and kind of like you register your vehicle, you would go up there and see if somebody's using this name, and you would file a DBA. And at the time, I think it was like $13, and maybe it's like $25, and it's just doing business as. So you could literally have your name like Bruce Solis, and then doing business as BAS Home Theater Systems. And then I went to a bank after I got my little certificate, and I opened up a business bank account. And then I went and filed with the city a sales tax permit and tax office. So basically, for less than $100, I was officially up and running as a business. Now, I'm not saying that there wasn't other tax reasons. I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying if you want to get down to it and you want to create a business name, great. Oh, by the way, I went to GoDaddy, www, found a name, and